Pleased to be joined now by ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky, who joins us each and every week, and his appearance on One Bills Live, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, an official mobile sports betting partner of the Buffalo Bills. All right, first the rehash here, Dano. Bills come all the way back from a 20-3 deficit, inspiring performance by their defense in the second half. They get two fourth-quarter takeaways. They get a turnover on downs to take points off the board for Houston. But the passing game was abysmal. Josh, 9 of 30. There hasn't been a passing performance with that low a completion percentage in like 30 years in the league. People are saying receivers can't get separation. I think pass protection is a little bit of an issue as well, and Josh was flat out off last week.
Yeah, it's never one single thing. I think the specific to Josh, the two things that stood out were, one, just a lot of misses downfield. There's probably 4 or 5 throws, and now they're close misses, but they're misses. You know, the double move to Matt Collins should be a touchdown when you're Josh Allen. The ball down the middle of the field to Dalton Kincaid that gets broken up, that should be a touchdown if you're Josh Allen. So definitely some misses. He was sped up and played frustrated and fed up again. That's probably the one that sticks out as a little bit more concerning for me, is that's the second straight week that we saw remnants of that, instead of the guy that has been so often the first 3 weeks in control and kind of at pace. There's definitely separation stuff in situations, and I think part of it is, when you played Monday Night Football in Jacksonville, wanted to play a ton of man coverage. Buffalo was obviously better. They were just better on the perimeter. The past 2 weeks in Baltimore and Houston, they're playing better coverage, and their guys are more physical at the line of scrimmage. That's the big thing, is there's not much separation at the line of scrimmage, much winning at the line of scrimmage. And so it'll demand more creativity. It'll demand more bunches and stacks to help those guys win. Those first couple weeks, they were capable of a little bit just emotion and then trying to go kind of win one-on-one. So I do think as they've figured out who they were when it comes to those top-tier teams in the AFC, that'll be more needed offensively.
So you got this team that exploded out of the gate in the first 3 games and now stumbled a little bit against better competition, no question about it. What do you think? Is there a personality you can attach to this offense? What do you like what they're doing, and what would you like to see more of?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a personality. I mean, you're talking about making sure that you're able to kind of do anything whenever you want. I still think tackle pull in their run game is good. I think their 12 personnel with those 2 tight ends, zone run scheme is good. I think a little bit more of that 12 play action. And I know I've made that comment many a times before. I also think the 12 play action and I would say Joe needs to put more pass concepts in out of that. They have like 2 that they run, and they're successful, but I think more that they can do out of that 12 personnel play action. They often just have like a deep curl, a guy sit over the ball, and then a kind of a flat route. And so a little bit more variance in that. I do like their 4x1 when they get into 4 guys strong. And so I think there's an identity of, variety on the offense. They are just going to have to, the big thing, Steve, is like, they're just going to have to figure out and understand, if you watch Kansas City last night, very rarely was there ever a guy just kind of like go win or stand there and win. It was a stack, a bunch, an inside-outside release. So I think it's just a growing process for them offensively, figuring out who this new group of wide receivers is against good talent.
Yeah. It also felt, Dan, and I haven't checked snap by snap to know this, but the last 2 weeks also have felt like there was a lot less pre-snap motion to Buffalo's offense. And I realize running a lot of motion is harder on the road because of communication, but the drop seemed precipitous. So that's part one of my question in terms of solving that problem on the road. And then number 2, they are running a ton on first down. Like this is a team under Dable and Dorsey. They were like first or second in the league passing on first down pass rate. And right now, they are 30th in the league in first down pass rate. I understand it's going to be different under Brady. They are going to run more, and they can run the ball. I mean, they were successful early in the game against Houston, but do you think that at least opens the door to play action pass on first down Monday night against the Jets in light of that sharp tendency?
No doubt. So the running on first down, absolutely, that is something that you want to try and play off of if you're doing the proper self-scouting, well-run football team organizationally. I believe they will. The second thing is in regards to that, there is, and you want to say this the right way, there is definitely that concerted effort to make sure Josh walks the fine line. And that's a little bit to the play calling of let's just settle the quarterback in, not only within the game, but within the drive. And so that first down, trying to be efficient, getting to really healthy situations, and the awareness of they don't have a killer on the outside. They don't have an offensive line that is absolutely dominant, and very few teams do when it comes to 3rd and 8, right? So that's not just the centric to Buffalo thing. So there's a little bit of that. And Joe Brady said this on Monday night. And again, Monday night is only 2 weeks ago, where he said a big part of this is trying to figure out how teams are going to play Josh. It's no longer Josh and Steph. It's how teams defensively are going to play Josh. And I think he's figuring that out. The motion, if that is going to be a foundational element of your offense, and it does need to be in Buffalo, you have to have the ability to do it anywhere. You have to, no matter what. And so there's ways that you can make sure that you can, and it stresses intellectually everybody and the study habits of everybody and the installation and the operation of everybody, no doubt. But if that is something that your team and offense needs to play to its best, then you have to make sure that you're capable of doing it anywhere.
Well, early in the mantra in Buffalo, everybody eats, because they felt like they were going to be able to spread the football around. Nobody was going to be this alpha guy that was going to command targets. And yet in the first week or two, there were 8 guys that caught passes, 9 guys that caught passes. There were 10 guys that were targeted. This last week, only 6 guys caught a pass from Josh. What is there some benefit to focusing in, and now as the season progresses, certain guys elevate? And I know Khalil Shakir was not in the game. He took, which is, I think, a high volume target guy for Josh. But what does it say about maybe they're focusing in on finding guys that are now elevating and they're starting to trust more? Or do you like what they did in the first couple of weeks where everybody was an option and everyone was getting a ball here or there? Give me about the dynamics you think about that, where certain guys they never know if they're going to get the ball. Does it affect their route running, or is it a better way to run your offense?
Well, if it affects their route running, you don't put them on the field until they get to a point where it doesn't affect their route running. And Andrew Hawkins, who's with us with NFL Live, who has the experience of being in a Shanahan offense as I do, and I think there's remnants of it with Joe. One of his favorite sayings is, the right choice for the quarterback is the open receiver. And that sounds simplistic, but that's kind of at least the vantage point of what you want this offense to look like. Whoever gets open gets the football, and you're not building plays for certain and/or specific guys. So I watching the game that there was this lack of ball placement or ball variety or the distribution of the ball. Yeah, thank you. I didn't feel that way. Khalil plays, he's going to get a catch, and there would be 7 guys. I honestly believe this, guys. They took 4 or 5 shots downfield. If they hit 2 of them, they likely win the game, and there's a little bit of a different conversation. And that doesn't mean that Josh would have been 20 of 30. Josh had those misses, but when you're taking your shots against a really good Houston defense and you miss, like I have missed 1, 2, 3, I have 5 shots down the field that they just miss, and he just overthrows or doesn't connect on them. If he hits 2 or 3 of those, it's a different game, different stat line, different feeling. So when you take them, you got to make them.
Okay, so let's spin it forward to the Jets here. Number 2 defense in football. Not going to be easy. They historically make life very difficult for Buffalo's offense. They've had to earn every yard they get, especially in the first meeting of the season with them, seemingly every season. What's the approach here? Because, they better be ready to play a physical brand of football. They weren't 2 weeks ago against the Ravens. They have to be ready to bring it up front. That's number one. But as I was saying earlier, I think first down play action under center can get a lot of stuff done here early on to at least make the Jets maybe back off a little bit. But they're going to be charged up under Ulbrich as interim.
Yeah, so Buffalo defensively, the key in this game is going to be how their edges play versus the Jets. The Jets' offensive line, at least the interior, really the tackles have been okay. Now, they haven't gotten up to the second level in their run game, and they're really bad on first down and second down running the football, really bad. So the speed of the linebackers is going to be huge because the Jets have struggled to get to those. But really, when they get a defensive end against the Jets' tight ends in the run game, you got to whoop them because that's been the case for the past couple of weeks against the Jets offense. You're not going to get fooled much. This is an offense that is relatively predictable. You're going to have a good idea of what they want to do offensively. It's been their downside. And so, that's got to be something where they get very clued into what the Jets want to do offensively because that's kind of the success that Minnesota had. They won first down. They crashed in, their defensive ends dominated, and they forced it into a passing game. For the the Bills offense, if you watch that Jets defense against Minnesota's offense, the overwhelming thing that stands out is they went into that game, and no one could tell me otherwise, and said, make the officials throw the flags. Make on the back end, make them throw the flag. And they didn't that much. They 3 or 4 times. They could have done it every play. And so coming off of last week, lack of separation, the Jets are going to challenge Buffalo on the perimeter to get open down the field and either win or force flags. And that's going to be the biggest challenge for that offense.
All right, so let me follow that up with this because I was a proponent of this. I think James Cook, next to Josh Allen, is your most dynamic athlete on offense. What about featuring him more in the passing game, knowing he is a player who can get consistent separation?
Totally, and that should be the case on a week-to-week basis. Now, the Jets linebackers are playing really good. Quincy Williams is playing fantastic. Right. The only thing you got to be really smart with is if you have James and you use him as a pass catcher, you're then likely doing one of two things, more often than not. You're taking away a tight end in the pass concepts because you probably need somebody just as a chip help occasionally or an extra body in protection, or you're only going 5-man protection. And you're vulnerable to a good pass rush unit or a pressure unit that can get after you. So that's kind of that cat and mouse game that Joe Brady's going to have to be really good at, is picking the moments when he does it with James and not just living there, because there are downsides to it.
Give me an idea about this coaching change in New York. It's obviously it's a little seismic shift for their club.
Yeah.
You've seen Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you may even have a relationship with Aaron. I don't know, but it does seem like he's the massive elephant in the room. I don't think he's the guy that called the shot on Robert Saleh, which all the memes on the internet are saying now Aaron is the true head coach. But it is a strange dynamic there. What do you think the end result is?
Well, first of all, you're not making this move unless you're having some form of communication with Aaron Rodgers. There's no shot, okay? So There's obviously an immense amount of pressure on Aaron coming into this season, probably more than anybody in the NFL, and it's only elevated. I think the reality is this team has been let down by its offense the past 2 weeks. Great elite defensive efforts that have been let down. But it's not just the quarterbacks playing bad. If they want change, like if they want this to get better, okay, in New York, no matter who Jeff Ulbrich, who's their new head coach, the scheme has to become more modern. I don't care what anybody says. It has to become more modern. You can't stand still in the NFL nowadays. If you're going to, you better go get Devontae. That's the starting point. Number 2, they got to be better on early downs on offense. They got to be. They average 3.3 yards on first and second down. That's worse than the NFL, okay? 3, yes, Aaron's got to play better, but they got to get more winners on the outside. So I don't know what the end result is, but I do know this. It's a football team that's got the chance to be very good because the defense is still very good, but there has to be fundamental changes with the way they go play.
So last one for me on that Dan, you look at their inability to run the football, and you've got two very athletic, big-bodied backs in their backfield, in Hall and Allen. What is the problem? Is the line, like, I know you mentioned the line's not getting to the second level in the run game, but those are guys that can fall forward and get yards on their own. I mean, they're big, massive, athletic guys, but or are they just not running it enough? Do they just not believe they can run the ball?
No, they're trying to. Now, I thought they did it too much against Minnesota, and that's when you get into super deep game plan specific thought processes. So the backs are really good. They are. What's really part of this, Chris, is like, dude, Denver and Minnesota got awesome defenses.
Yeah, they do.
Awesome defenses. So that's, we've lost sight of that in this whole conversation about their offense. But when you're not getting to the backers and the edges of you as an offense are just getting punched in the face, it's hard to run the ball. It just is, against good defenses. So they got to get more efficient at that. They've played a lot of really good defenses this season. I don't have a ton of, oh my gosh, the world is ending feelings about their offense. I still believe this offense in New York that makes a couple changes and improves a little way better.
Dan, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us.
Thanks, guys.